Today on Mr. Nashville Talks, actor, soap opera legend, and one of the many loves of Erica Kane, Mr. Walt Willey. Well, I can't tell you how excited I am to be interviewing you.
I can see the goosebumps.
Yeah,
Larry.
Seriously, I got them. I have not known a time in my life, and we'll get to this later, but when I wasn't watching All My Children. So I grew up with
Sure.
the whole gang.
It's usually a multi-generational thing. It's usually mom or grandma's watching it, they're watching you, so you're watching that. That's how it works.
Yeah, and I thought the show was called Palmer Portland when I was real little. And, and he was the biggest, personality on there other than Erica Kane, of course.
Well, you had Phoebe, Ruth Warwick, who was
amazing.
A good friend of mine.
Yeah.
And Eileen Hurley, who was more of Hollywood.
Yes.
Old Hollywood.
Yes. Well, I want to congratulate you on your nuptials with. Speaking of All My Children, Sarah Kane.
Sarah Kane, I know.
Have a hard time running away from the Kane women.
What are the chances I would marry a Kane woman after all these years? But I did.
Yeah, she's a great lady, great singer, but I did want to start off. I want to ask you about what's going on now, and then we can talk a little bit about All My Children. But you've got the Wild Bill show that you're doing.
I do.
One woman.
My one-woman show. You should see that, Larry.
I'm so used to all the one-woman shows that we interview.
Well, I decided I didn't want to scare anybody too badly.
That's right.
I went in drag once to do a review of Tuong Fu.
Oh, really?
Julie Newmar, and they actually found a pair of size 12s for me. Not an attractive woman, Larry. I'm not sure I'm an attractive man, but I know for certain I'm not an attractive woman. Let me tell you
I've seen the ladies. I know that they're after you.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, let's see. What's going on now?
Wild Bill.
All My Children went off in 2011. I had been going back to my hometown of Ottawa, Illinois, since about 2009. I just love this little town. It's on the junction of two rivers, state parks all around, great people. Wonderful place to grow up. Nothing like it these days, I don't think.
Yeah.
And so I went back there. Once a year, I'd go back and bring people from the show. Brooke English.
Oh, yeah.
Julia came back and did Arsenic and Old Lace with us. Jill Larson played Opal, came back and did The Odd Couple with us. So every year I'd come back. Once a year we do a big show. Then the show went off the air. And I was, I've been doing comedy for about 20 years at that point. And comedy's a tough hustle, and I'm too old to be doing comedy. I didn't have any idea of being a famous comic or anything like that. It was just a lot of fun, and I got good at it, but it wasn't a deeply felt passion. But I wanted to find something else for after the show. I wasn't quite done, and you come off a soap, it doesn't mean much. It doesn't mean much that you work for 25 years, 5 days a week. It doesn't mean much outside that particular genre. So I thought, well, rather than fester here in Los Angeles, I should come up with a one-man show, and I read a lot of them, and there was nothing really spoke to me. Coming from Illinois, doing a Lincoln show just didn't have much attraction. I'd seen so many Lincoln shows that... But we were going to pick my wife at that time and daughter, who's still my daughter, up at a train station. My son and I were doing, I guess it was the Arsenic and Old Lace. And my son's an actor as well. And we were doing that, and we went over to pick them up at the train. They like to come in by train. Why, I don't know. They have a lot of time on their hands, I guess. And we went over to this little town to pick them up and went through another even tinier hamlet called Troy Grove, and on the outskirts of town was this sign that said, "Welcome to Troy Grove, Illinois." Now this is 30 miles from where I grew up. Birthplace of Wild Bill Hickok. Now I didn't know that Hickok was born in the same county, just a hoot and a holler, as they say, away. And which I thought was really surprising, Larry, because when I was a kid, all that was on TV were Westerns. You'd think I know, perhaps the most famous Old West character of all, certainly the most famous man in the world in his time, was born so close. So I started to research this guy. And the legend's incredible. More incredible is the truth. So I thought, well, maybe I could write a show. I've done a lot of plays. I've read a lot of plays. Maybe I could pull this off. Just one character. I don't have to worry about exits and entrances. I just come out and I stay there.
That's right.
So over the next about year and a half, I started writing that in 2010. And by the time the show went off the air, that spring of 2012, I had the show ready to go out.
Oh, wow.
And went down to Marco Island, Florida, and then Naples, because it was cold out, and I'm not stupid, to get this thing on its feet. It went very well. The critics loved it, and I've been doing it since. I must say, it's probably the most fun I've ever had on stage. I don't have to worry about anybody else dropping their lines. I don't have to worry about running into anybody on an exit or entrance. So so I've been doing this for, I guess, 7 years now. And I've done it in front of the surviving Hickox, which was nerve-wracking.
Oh, wow.
They were very kind. And it's been, from that, I got to do a thing called Gunslingers. I think it was 2014 that came out.
Yeah.
Which is so sweet to see that. I think it was on the American Heroes channel originally, and then it went to Discovery, who owns them. They were looking for, I think they'd cast it. And I belong to what's called SAS, which is the Single Action Shooting Society, which are these guns you have to cock every time, like Wild Bill shot. And they, out in New Mexico, where I still have a farm out there, and they called the head of that and said they were looking for people who had those kinds of weapons and those kinds of clothes for background work. And I said, well, background work, wait a minute now. So I reached out to them, I sent them a piece of the show, and they hired me in. And it was shot about 6 miles from my house in New Mexico on the Eves Movie Ranch and a couple other locations, but most of it was done right there. So I got to ride my horse over in the morning, hand my horse to the wrangler, my horse got paid, I got paid, it was great. And my son, I got him on there too. I actually shot, he was first shot when they came through the door after me. So we worked out a lot of father-son stuff right there. I didn't know who was boss.
Sacrifice.
But when I got there and read the full script, which I hadn't read, because this happened pretty quickly, I said, are you trying to do the true story of Wild Bill? And he said, yeah. I said, this is really not at all it. So he said, well, do you write? I said, well, I wrote that show. I said, well, can we hire you? Sure. So it was my first television writing credit on that. We reworked a lot of it. But I thought it came out for what it was, a real quick shoot.
Yeah, it was great.
I was there 3 weeks or something, which is nothing. They were shooting another 2 or 3 at the same time. So a lot of fun. I mean, like I said, when I was a kid, it was mostly Westerns on. And my mother, who unfortunately didn't get to see it, was a Western fanatic. So it was a lot of fun to do that for her.
Well, Susan gave you a shout out for that. That's how I knew about the show.
Oh, she did?
Yeah,
what did she say? That darn Susan.
She said you were doing the show.
Well, I see she's doing a one-woman show now.
Oh, is she?
Copycat.
Okay.
Yeah. I guess she thought it was a damn good idea.
Yeah, exactly. Like you were talking about growing up in Illinois, how did you always want to be an actor?
No.
Or no?
No.
It came later.
Yeah, it came much later. I always thought I would be a graphic artist. Just got back into not into watercolor, doing watercolor for the first time. I've ruined a lot of drawings trying to put color in them, so I decided to take a watercolor class at the Parks Department here and found out that I'm pretty good at it, as it turns out. So I've been doing a lot of that, doing a lot of portrait commissions and stuff, which is just so weird. Yeah. But no, I got into theater. I just want to share a quote about, and this is kind of how I feel too. My good friend Terrence Mann, who was the big cat in the original Cats and a big Broadway actor, did a couple of films. His quote is, movies make you famous, television makes you rich, but theater makes you good.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree more. So, but when I was in college, I was a sculpture major and trying to do 3D work to improve my 2D work. And I was also working for the school newspaper, setting the type at night where you'd actually put it through a waxer and take an X-Acto knife and lay it down on the flat. That's how old I am. It wasn't done on computer.
Wow.
You had to wax it. It's like the turn of the century, you understand? Yeah. Not this century, the one before. And I dropped this thing in about auditions for Frankenstein. Darwin Payne, a very famous director down there who had been Tennessee Williams' lover for many, many years, so he was well connected in the theater, as you might guess. Literally. Took a bucket of cold water. But he was doing it, and I thought, wow, I'd love to play Dr. Frankenstein. Well, I ended up playing the creature.
Oh.
And loved the experience. 3 other directors saw the show, and all of a sudden I was doing 3 other shows. I wasn't even a theater major, and
wow.
Do you think the theater kids liked me? They did not like me, because I was doing Christian in Cyrano and The Illustrated Man in Something Wicked This Way Comes, and I think all 5 Posts in a Marketplace had the lead in that. And I was still a sculpture major, so decided I liked this a lot, and left school. Wow. Got married for the first time, and years later, I did the next fall. I did a bunch of shows too, and then left school. And years later, got a call from a guy who had been a student when I was, and now he was tenured faculty there. And he said, we're doing Dracula. We're doing The Passion, and we don't have a Dracula. Would you come read for that? Frankenstein, Dracula. All I have to do is the Wolfman now. I'm done. So I said, sure, and read for it and got it and did their whole summer company that year, 4 shows during the semesters. And the next year, even though I wasn't a student, they had kind of an outreach thing. And decided, well, I was getting close to 40 at that point. So I decided, maybe it'd be a good idea if I'm going to do this to get out and do it. Packed my little kit bag up and went to New York. What an experience that was.
I bet, yeah.
I think I got there in 81.
Oh, wow.
82.
Ed Koch years.
Ed Koch years, that's right, the Ed Koch years. And was very lucky. I very fortunate. I don't know that I was lucky, but I was fortunate. Met some people right off and started working in theater. Terrible things you wouldn't want anybody to see. But eventually worked up to off-Broadway, and then found out about television money, and started working soaps. And I think first soap I ever worked on was Guiding Light, playing a cop. And I know I did Search for Tomorrow, playing a cop. I guess I looked like a cop. I played a cop.
It's better than Monsters,
Well, I don't know if it is or not.
Well, maybe not, yeah.
Listen to the news. I don't know if it's not kind of the same thing.
Lately.
But, and then got a contract on Another World, and then played the 4th incarnation of Joe Novak and Ryan's Hope. Got fired from there. They killed the storyline, wiped us all out. But I can remember the producer saying, but don't you worry, you're going to be fine. And I thought, how the hell does he know that? He worked with me for 6 months. Well, about 3 months later, all my children called and said, we'd like you to come in and read for Jeff Martin, which I didn't get.
Yeah.
But then Megan McTavish, who was the head writer at that time, said she was in the bathroom. And these are her words. I've never asked her, and what activity were you engaged in the bathroom? Because I really don't want to know. And she had the thought that Travis Montgomery needs a brother. And they wrote the role.
That's great.
For me. And I was there 25 years.
Yeah, because...
Long time.
Well, you kind of, your aura on the show, and...
Kind of a bright purple, is that right?
Yeah. Well, you kind of had that same feel like that Ruth Warwick and all of them,
that's
that
so
old
kind
Hollywood,
of you to say that.
classy.
That's so kind of you. Ruth used to tell me, I used to...
Leading man.
I don't want to say date her, but I used to escort her lots of places, and she introduced me, Jimmy Stewart, and Sean Connery, and Tom Cruise, all these people that she knew because she was, she was Orson Welles. She was Orson Welles' wife in Citizen Kane, and worked with him in his radio company as well. The whole War of the Worlds bunch, but. She used to always say that I remind her so much of Leslie Howard. Now, I don't know why Leslie Howard of all people. Leslie Howard was a little fey, but she actually used your words. She said, you remind me of the old Hollywood. And I thought, wow, coming from Ruth Warwick, I've seen everything.
Yeah, I think that's why you work so well with Susan. Because, she has that vibe too.
She does. Oh, she's got stars just oozing out of her, without a doubt. We weren't supposed to be together. They had written a story where, pardon me if it all kind of fades into the mist, but Travis was someplace and she was married to him or something, or was about to be or something, and she wanted to go to him. And of course, I was a pilot because we're all something else on the show,
right,
pilots or mercenaries or something. And so the plane crashed. I wasn't a good pilot, evidently. And we were in a plane crash and spent some time together and ended up sleeping on a pool table in an old hotel somewhere. And they just loved the byplay. They just like, because we weren't nice to each other at all. We were terrible, and it was the kind of terrible. So they must be in love, you know.
Right.
So they started to go down that road, and it was, you know, a road that lasted on and off. I think we were together probably a total of 20 of those years, and only married what, once? I think
Yeah, only once. Yeah.
It's pretty good for Erica.
Well, yeah, exactly. What, she had 8 or 9?
Oh, no, I think
more?
she was a dirty dozen.
No.
Yeah, she can rattle them right off, the last names. Montgomery's in there 3 times, twice to my brother, once to me, but yeah.
Well, you know, the soap fans are so
Incredible might be the word you're looking for.
That too.
They are incredible.
I'm one, so I can, you know, throw it.
Well, you're incredible.
Oh, well.
Larry?
Glad you think so. But they are so possessive of their characters, and they come out to everything you do, you know, and really very supportive.
Loyal.
Yes, very
Absolutely.
loyal. Have you had a strange fan encounter?
You know, I had a very troubling fan encounter, but let me preface this with one fan encounter that was kind of sour over the, I'm going to guess, thousands and thousands I had across the years, because I hosted things at Disney and stuff, and I always made myself available after comedy show, whenever, because I think they deserve that. And I'll go so far as to say I think they're owed that. In fact, you know, they give you your livelihood, really. I was going out to do the home show, Gary Collins and I don't know if you remember a million years of Marianne Mobley.
Yeah.
I
was trying to think,
I don't know
too.
how I came up with that, but that'll be my one thing I can remember today. So, shame I wasted it on that. I still have to drive home. But went out there to do that. I was going to be on Monday. It was Mother's Day weekend. I wasn't working. I went out on Friday. Now on Friday, the show runs a crawl. It says, guests of the home show stay at the so-and-so. So we're down at Gladstone's in Malibu having crab. It's Mother's Day. It's Sunday. My girlfriend at the time and I were down there, and it was jammed. I mean, we luckily got a seat.
Right.
And here walks this person who looks vaguely familiar to me, and she's blanched, you know, totally pale, cold sweat, shaking like this, and starts in, "We really have to spend more time together."
Oh, no.
I couldn't agree less. I don't have any idea who you are, you know. And she said, "Oh, you do, you know who I am." And of course, my girlfriend's like, "Well, who is this?"
Yeah.
You know, the manager comes over, saw what was happening, says, "Mr. Willey, would you mind taking a photo with my staff?" I'm like, "Not right now. I'm kind of got something going on here." He said, "Yes, I know. You're coming with the..." And so, so grabbed her and we left. And we sat back down after they asked her to leave. And she came back over. And then their man at the door, without touching her, escorted her out. She came back over. So they finally escorted her out physically. She came back over. They finally had the Santa Monica police come in and take her out. And ABC had to file an injunction or some kind of a thing to keep her 500 yards away. It was just crazy. And she just wasn't right.
Yeah.
We'd met, it turned out, at some fan thing in New York, I guess months previous, where I spent probably a hot 3 minutes talking to her in line. And she just got it in her head. But that's the only experience. And I'm 6'3", 2 1/4. I don't worry much about, but I think about Susan at 4'12". I won't give her 5 foot. She's 4'12". At 4'12" and 85 pounds soaking wet, you know, what chance would she have if somebody was crazy? Yeah. Which is why Helmet, her husband, is always boom right there. And if they go out anyplace big, there's always another guy that looks like both of them rolled into one and add 100 pounds, and he's there too. Because although they are, I think, they're a lot like the country music fans.
Yes,
they really are. It's kind of the same demographic. I found out much later, and so it doesn't happen often. Alicia Minshew, who played Kendall, shares a story. She was in a bodega in New York once, and this little old lady walked up to her and slapped her right in the face and said, "You shouldn't treat your mother."
Oh, no.
And she said, "Oh, you don't know my mother?" She said, "I know, Erica." I said, "Oh my God." Just whack, brought one up from Georgia. Smacked her. Treat your mother better.
Yeah, I heard Susan say she was in an elevator talking
Oh,
about
great place to be.
The abortion episode,
my
that they wrote
Sure,
for her.
of course.
And so the lady looked at her, and she had like a cross on and all this stuff. And she looked at her and she said,
Shame on you.
"Yeah."
Shame on you.
I thought, wow, I don't know if she ever told her that, didn't go through that.
No, she watched CBS. She was watching Guiding Light as the world turns. She had no idea what was going on there across town.
Well, did you have a favorite storyline the whole time you were at All My Children?
It's interesting. Jack didn't have a lot of storylines. The one time they wrote Jack a storyline separate from Erica. I mean, Jack was the lawyer. He was the DA. He was the lawyer, so he spent a lot of time in court learning 7-page summations to the jury with no emotional hooks on them. So in a storyline I hadn't even been in until I became the lawyer. So I was like, what are they talking about?
And the one thing that I did think was a little odd, and you probably have insight to it, was that the shows that they canceled were all Agnes Nixon shows.
Well, the guy at the helm at the time, Brian Franz, I don't imagine what do I care if he does? He sunk NBC daytime when he was there. Had to go work in Europe for years before he could get a job in here, and they hired him to run ABC daytime. We're still scratching our heads. Tried to reinvent the shows, which was exactly the wrong thing. What he should have done was see them for what they were, which were these slightly anachronistic, wonderful, sweet little pieces of candy, and go with that. But he wanted to be in Los Angeles, so the Los Angeles show survived. Ratings-wise, it may have been ahead at the time. I think, every show has its day, and it goes back and forth. And but in the day, as they say, when you had Ryan's Hope, All My Children, One Life to Live, General Hospital, ABC owned it. They owned it.
Yeah, for sure. And Agnes
didn't have
is
to
from
dwindle
Nashville.
like that. Yes.
So, I always thought it would be great if she had a star on the Walk of Fame here that we have.
Why doesn't she?
I bet they don't know.
Why don't you look into that?
I'm going to look into it. I don't know
You
why
give
she
me a
doesn't.
call. We'll get this done.
We'll get it
I'm
done.
not kidding.
Yeah,
We'll get
because
this
she deserves it.
I guess so.
my gosh. It wasn't just those three. I mean, she had, she
Well,
wrote
One
for
Life
shows
was
and
not
she's
hers.
great.
One Life was not hers, but Loving was.
Yeah.
Loving that bumped Ryan's Hope out of the mix there was hers. And I think she wrote for other shows as well. But clearly, just those three iconic shows, she deserves a star.
Yeah,
sure.
Exactly.
So there's some people on there you go, who
Who are they?
Is that?
Yeah,
I know when I walk
exactly.
on Melrose up there in Los Angeles, I never heard of these people. I guess I got to get me a star. It can't be that tough. I never heard of that guy.
Well, you mentioned Ruth Warwick and
Yes.
and we were talking about the older cast.
Yes, James Mitchell.
Yeah. How when you walk in there and you have all of those people, you're meeting them for the first time. What was that like?
Well, luckily I wasn't meeting them for the first time. I'd done a bunch of extra work I was Palmer's limo driver. I was Adam's jet pilot. I used to be the maitre d' at, what was the name of the restaurant there?
Oh, gosh,
Not the Goalpost, the one where Candy Early used to sing at.
I forgot too.
That one. I don't know what it was, but I played a lot of day players, cops. So I pretty much knew everyone. It was and because the dressing rooms were so small and in such short supply, you get stuck in with a contract player if you were just doing a day thing.
Yeah.
So I would, with room with Langley Wallingford.
Yeah.
One day. So I pretty much knew them all. In fact, when I did that screen test I told you about, which I didn't get the role, and then they wrote Jackson, Langley, if you'll allow me to call him that, came out and said, "Oh, we wish you the best of luck. We so want you here with us." And when you got to just, this guy's saying that. But the first person I worked with was David Canary.
Oh, yeah.
Who I'd seen on, what was it called? With the Ponderosa, what was it called? Bonanza, thank you.
Yes.
Theme song I got, location I got, name. It's spotty, the memory is spotty.
Right. Mine too.
But he was the first one I worked with, and when he opened the door in the scene, all I could hear was and I just went higher in a guy. I don't know what. I'm so glad to meet you. I have no idea what I'm supposed to say. Let's start over. I was very fortunate to have known these people, because walking into a group like that, Susan Lucci alone, was an icon. Of course, we had Tad, another icon, and Jesse and
Jesse and Angie's
and
story.
Angie.
Yeah.
So they were, they were big stars
Yeah.
in daytime there. And so I had to hustle to keep up.
Well, Susan was Erica Kane was like the first brunette I fell in love with as a little kid. And, I was into the blondes, obviously, everybody's into the blondes. But when I saw Erica Kane, my mouth just dropped to the floor. And, what kind of kisser was Susan Lucci?
Oh, well,
I go right
I'm
into
more
it.
of a gentleman than that. I don't
You don't
talk
kiss and
about
tell.
that.
Yeah, right,
No,
right.
really good.
Yeah, I was going to say. You
And
had to do it a
it's
lot.
funny because people talked about all the chemistry that we had, and not my type at all.
Right.
But I think I might be hers because Helmut and I her husband about the same coloring, same height, same pretty much everything, except I don't have an Austrian accent.
Well, as we were talking about the ending of the show, what was the
I
last day
got
like?
out of that room just in time, didn't I? Before all the gunfire.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah. You weren't there at the. You weren't.
Not at the very end. I told Erica to go to help.
Yeah.
I'm going to California and see you later.
But
I
you were
guess she
there
was
though
going
when
to
the show
California.
was.
Oh yeah. I was
officially
there till the last day.
Yeah, I was going to say How was that on the set? Did people knew? The day that they gave you the news is what I guess I'm trying to say.
Well, that was months previous.
Oh, okay.
That was months previous, and the writing had been on the wall for a long
Yeah.
time. I mean, in the early '80s, about the time I started, in the '80s, early '90s, women had started to go back into the workforce.
Yeah.
You didn't have a lot of stay-at-home moms. The whole thing about doing their ironing and watching the show, which my mother did.
Yeah. Mine too.
But so the viewership began to erode.
Yeah.
And erode even more as time went on. And then because it was kind of an anachronistic little kind of out of time thing, you lost your base audience too, frankly, because the show had been on at that point for, I guess, 30 years. And a lot of these people, like you said, your grandmother watched.
Yeah,
and,
right, yeah.
And so we lost a lot of the audience that way. And, then you had streaming services and cable and all this. So it just kind of dwindled as things do. You know.
I kind of thought it was a little...
But we could see that happening.
Right, you saw it was
You'd
gonna...
see we're terrible numbers. So.
Well, and I thought, why don't they even put like some older characters in, which they hate doing that, but I think
would have
it's
been a
the
great
smartest
idea.
thing.
No, would have been a great idea because one of the major complaints from the older audience was, I don't know anybody on the show anymore.
Right. I even thought of it would be kind of cool, like you were talking about, the cast is so large, all those type of things. It would even be kind of cool to have like an Erica and Jackson spinoff.
Like Mama's Family.
Yeah.
My good friend Carol Burnett. Yes. Yeah. Carol might just come in and do that too.
Yeah. Well, now, what would you like to do with your career that you haven't
I'm
done
retired,
yet?
buddy. I'm
done.
done.
You're totally retired?
I'm as retired as I'm ever going to be. I'm painting now.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're busy.
I don't even comb my hair for like Tuesday through Thursday. I don't even go to in front of the mirror, you understand. This is very rare today. It's funny. When I was doing comedy, because people say, oh, you don't have a T-shirt to buy? You don't have Okay, I'll make a T-shirt. I think I kind of have enough of your money that I don't need. But if you want me to sell you a T-shirt, I will. So I had one made this thing. I spent the night with Walt Willey, and then parenthetically, and all I could do was laugh. And I'll still look out in places and see those T-shirts somewhere. I must have sold 10,000 of those bloody things across 20 years.
Well, speaking of T-shirts, shameless plug, but a gift for you. As we wrap up, we've been doing these to promote our show, of course, and we want to give you one. And
Does it
thank
say,
you so much.
I spent the night with Larry Ferguson?
Nobody would wear it then.
No? I don't know. Well, look at this. It's very nice. My new gym shirt.
There you go. Yeah, I gave Sherry Shepherd one. And
what do you think? I'm a large or extra large?
Well, I put extra large because you're tall.
Yeah,
you're tall.
I'm tall. That's so sweet.
But
my waist is up to here. I didn't know. This will be great. I'll shrink it the minute I get home.
There you go. Well, I figured you could sleep in it, if anything.
Yeah, that's me. Just a T-shirt. Yep, that's the look you want from a man my age. Let the varicose veins hang out, I say.
Well, I appreciate you so much. You don't know how much this means to a lot of people in my family that you would do this. They're going to be.
Well, you don't really show this anywhere. You're just going to take this home and play this for your family, right?
Do that first.
I suspected that.
But yeah, I appreciate you so much. I really do, for coming out today, and we love having you in the Nashville community. So.
It's good to be here. I like it here a lot. I really do.
But
thank you for having me on. Good luck with everything.
Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see you soon.
Yes, right.
I have so much more to tell you.
Oh, well, we could go, but
There's no
Thank
sense
you.
in no.
Subscribe to our mailing list, and you could win a CD or DVD project by today's featured artist. To enter, please go to www.mrnashvilletalks.com and enter your email address. While there, take a look around, browse through our music store, or order one of our Mr. Nashville Talks t-shirts for $20. I want to hear from you, so follow our social media via Twitter, Instagram, or like us on our Facebook page.